Dark Souls. What all can I say that hasn't already been said? Released in 2011, this dark fantasy action RPG, known for its crushing difficulty and very hands-off design philosophy, would pave the way for somewhat of a revolution in the gaming industry. For years, games have been shifting towards a very hand-holdy and everybody wins atmosphere, and for a lot of people, it just wasn't satisfying. And that is where From Software comes in, or perhaps more accurately, Hidetaka Miyazaki. Having developed games such as King's Field or the more comparable Demon's Souls, From Software didn't seem to care what everyone else was doing. And eventually, that firm resolve would take the world by storm, spawning a whole series of games and even a new genre aptly titled Souls-like. But Dark Souls didn't just change the world. It changed my life. 2015. That was the year that a lot of things changed for me. It was the year that I went through a serious bout of depression. It was the year that I quit marching band. It was the year that I got a new dog. It was the year that I became a Destiny fan, and the year that I finally got into Dark Souls. All of these different scenarios greatly shaped who I am today in equal amounts, but despite this being the time I had finally gotten into Dark Souls, this wasn't the first time I had played it. That was a year prior, when a friend of mine recommended I play it while it was available through Xbox's Games with Gold. I tried it, thought it was neat, but never came back, assuming it was just another RPG I would play eventually. I didn't quite get it. But that would eventually change. In June 2015, my grandmother was visiting my family, and while she was there, she offered to buy me a game. And at the time, I couldn't think of anything I wanted, so instead, I decided to pick up a copy of Dark Souls 2 on the PS4. That way, when I finally had the console, I would have something to play. This decision was completely on a whim, by the way. And a few months later, I was playing through my first Dark Souls game that I would actually finish. And it was a magical experience. I was really bad at it in the beginning and even had to restart my character because I was having so much trouble. But it was always fun. Learning all the nuances of the game and trying to figure out things on my own while being challenged at every turn, always eager to see what was next. It was an experience that is very hard to replicate. I remember sharing stories with my friends who had already played the game, and they would give me hints about what I should be doing or tell me about something I had no idea existed, all the while I would share something that they didn't know about either, and it was always like we had a different story from one another. Eventually, my love for the game would grow, playing through Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3 at launch, Bloodborne following shortly after, and the more we played the games, the more friends we seemed to get into it. And now, nearly 6 years later, my entire friend group has an incredibly deep connection with these games. We constantly do co-op runs with each other, and every time it's more enjoyable than the last. We even have a tradition of getting together and playing through a different Dark Souls mod every year after Christmas, and that's something I wouldn't change for the world. This feeling of home or belonging is also reflected in the online community. I don't think there is a single group of people I feel more connected to than Dark Souls fans. You have dedicated lore junkies that make countless videos explaining the story of the game. You have people making funny PvP montages, or animators dramatizing the game in a relatable context. People who make guides, challenge run support forums, game wikis, an incredibly dedicated modding community. All of these people with incredibly different stories and backgrounds, but who all love the games and just want to help each other out. And I think that's beautiful. Now, I could talk about what makes the game great fundamentally, on a gameplay level, but I think the emotional response that a game can emit from its players is equally as important. Regardless of whatever mechanics you may have or however much content, if you don't leave a positive impact on the player emotionally, then what have you really done at all? The primary loop of Dark Souls is essentially trial and error, and I think that resonated with me on an emotional level. The fact that any progress I made almost always felt meaningful, regardless of whether or not it was intentional on From Software's part. My whole life, I found it very hard to stay committed to one thing for an extended amount of time. It's a very real problem that I'm trying to work through to this day, and it was very demoralizing when I failed at something, and felt like I had wasted so much time doing other things in life. YouTube is a prime example of that. I started 4.5 years ago and never stuck with it consistently until now. Whenever I look back at my first videos, I feel like a failure. Even now, I feel as though I failed the people who enjoyed what I did make, and every time I miss a video deadline, even if it's only by a day, I beat myself up over it. Dark Souls, on the other hand, makes me feel as though I can accomplish anything with enough effort. Anytime you hit a wall, some insurmountable force that you think you can't overcome, you're lying to yourself. You have been from the beginning. You just need to take a step back, evaluate your failures, and try something different. And when you finally reached your goal, when you finally hit the mark, go further. You won't regret it.